It's chapter 15. We're getting close to the end. Being full of the most interesting things imaginable. And the picture's not that interesting. Just a little island with the ship off the end of it. Anyway. So when we last left our friend, Captain Scratchhead said he had to come out or he was going to kill Jaboom, the cat. Well, the sight of that red-bearded villain made me as mad as all wrath. Jack-o'-lantern had to hold me down. Easy, bucko. Arr, the captain is a tricksy one, ain't he? John Ringrose said, peering out through the bushes. Yeah, we'll show him a trick or two, bucko, Jack-o'-lantern muttered. But we'll need the treasure to do it. 7! Remember, he said he was going to count to 60. Shouted Captain Scratch from the beach, counting off the seconds. He pulled Jaboom out of the canvas bag and held him up by the scruff of the neck. 8, 9, 10. To be honest, I'd be surprised if Captain Scratch could count to 60. But, maybe he figured that out. Jaboom pawed the air, but he couldn't free himself from the captain's huge hand. 11, 12. Let loose of me, I spit. I'm going down there. Of course you are, Jack-o'-lantern whispered. But give us a moment to cogitate matters and cool your head. It won't do no good to go down there all a simmer. He eased up on me. John, I'd say we called Billy Bombay's bluff. I don't think he ever saw a ghost in his life until last night. And it sent his wits flying like bats. He was just boast and bombast, trying to cut a splurge, make himself important, He ain't worth a farthing now to Captain Scratch, for sure and certain he ain't. Or yourself either, Oliver. I mislike to say it, but I don't think you can see a spirit any better than the rest of us, no matter what hour you were born. I raised my eyes and gazed at him. There was such a thunder in my head for a moment that I couldn't hear Captain Scratch counting away the seconds in the cove. A sigh cracked my lips. I felt a great darkness lift from my mind, and a burden, too. I couldn't see ghosts. I didn't want to see ghosts. And by thunder, I didn't believe in ghosts. Strike me ugly, John Ringrose sighed. That means we're done for. We'll never get our hooks on the plunder. Aye, Jack-o'-lantern nodded. There's no way to get a fix on it. It's lost. 47! Captain Scratch shouted. Do you hear, boy? 48! I was ready to streak out for the cove, but thought I'd have to fight my way out of Jack-o'-lantern's grip first. Let the old fool wait, he said, making a twist in my pigtail. Tuck in your shirt. We can't have you presenting yourself to the captain looking like you climbed out of a hole. I see you got them dark stains out of your shirt, bucko. I'll have to find you that juniper-tree and teach you how to eat 'em without making such a mucks of it. When I glanced down, I saw for the first time that the spots were gone, and I was hugely astonished. Now, they're not bringing up the juniper-tree again right now, just to have something to write about in this chapter. It's a very important part of the book. And if you remember, the captain was using juniper juice. Gentleman Jack was using juniper juice to write his map. He had a juniper fruit in his pocket and was like dipping his pen in it and writing it on his shirt sleeve. Keep that in mind. Maybe some of you have figured it out. "53! He won't harm you, bucko," said Jack-o'-lantern. "Not as long as he thinks he needs ya. Hark now to what I say. String him along. Get him in the jungle. Then break away and make for the longboat. John and I will be there. We'll make for the ship and maroon the old devil." He gave me a shove on my way. I broke through the leaves and cut across the sand, and then Captain Scratch saw me at the count of 59. He lowered Jaboom and grinned. I slowed to a walk. I almost stopped. There was such a sudden ferment of thoughts in my head that I'd almost forgot Jaboom. I glanced over my shoulder towards Jack-o'-lantern and Mr. Ringrose hidden in the rim of the cove. I could hardly keep from rushing back. I knew exactly where the treasure was buried. Unless I missed my guess, I knew exactly where. Captain Scratch clamped his hands on me like irons, and Jaboom jumped free. Tried to give me the slip, did you, lad? Why, I wouldn't harm you for all the Grand Mogul's own treasury. Ha, ha, be glad I come to fetch you. We're weighing anchor. I was proper stunned. Leaving the island? I choked. Aye, the vaporous gent will keep, and the buried gold, too. The ship is springing leaks so fast we won't have a deck under our feet in many more days. We're going cruising for a new ship, boy, and never you fret about that slabbering Billy Bombay. Seize me soul, he wouldn't be worth the effort to string him up and jerk him into the arms of the devil. It's yourself I'm looking out for, in the longboat with ya. So remember, they were scraping the bottom of the ship, and they're realizing that it was an old ship and it was falling apart. And they were like, oh, we got to put in new stuff. And he says, no. Anyway, I dug my feet in the sand. How could I leave now? Jaboom leaped on my shoulder and spat at Captain Scratch. He reared back and laughed, and I said, I'll go fetch Mr. Ringrose. Blast that Jimberjohn Scarecrow. He'll make us 13 aboard. It's yourself alone I come for, boy. In the boat. My mind was racing. But I saw the ghost, I said, and it was more or less the truth. Bright as daylight. I can lead you to the very spot, sir. The lights came up in his eyes, because he loves the treasure. He's a very greedy person. His fingers dug into my arms. You saw him, did ya? All aglow. Oh, he was splendiferous to see, I added. Now he's laying it on. And I saw him seep right down into the grave. Captain Scratch jerked an arm to the men waiting at the longboat. Did you hear that? The treasure! Fetch up the shovels! This way! Come on, me hearties! I stuffed Jaboom into my shirt and led the way. I knew better than to try to make a run for it now. We tracked deeper into the jungle, and it must have been almost a half hour when I stopped and pointed at a tree. There, I said. Captain Scratch's face fell a cable length. There? He scowled, for I was pointing to the poisonous machineal apple tree, shaggy to the ground and hanging with dwarf apples. The very sight of it almost made my face swell up again, as it had my first night on the island. There, I nodded. The ghost lowered himself, not 3 feet from the trunk, sir. The buccaneers began walking around the tree as if it were a tangle of snakes. They knew better than to touch it. Finally, Captain Scratch handed Haji his broken cutlass and told him to start hacking away at the branches. Oh, me, Effendi, me. Ah, you Red Sea dog, unless you want the gift of a pistol ball between your eyes. Captain Scratch drew his pistol and Haji took up the cutlass. He began whacking down the hanging branches, muttering and wailing in his own tongue. In not many hours he would be scalded red and stinging from head to toe. I tried to feel sorry for him without overdoing it. Sure of the treasure at last, Captain Scratch lost interest in me. I sat on a rock to watch, calming Jaboom inside my shirt, and then I silently faded back into the jungle. Once out of sight, I ran. Jack-o'-lantern and Mr. Ringrose were crouched down in the longboat waiting for me. Good lad, Jack-o'-lantern smiled. Let's shove off. I glanced over my shoulder. Once Captain Scratch found me missing, he was likely to put Cannibal on my trail, but there was no sight of him. Wait, I said, gasping for breath. The treasure. I know where it's buried. Jack-o'-lantern gazed at me. Has the heat got you, bucko? He shook his head. There's only one way to find the plunder, and that's to dig up this island from one end to the other. If we worked fast, we might finish the job in 50 years. Look at my shirt, I cried. Those juice spots disappeared like invisible ink. There's only one juniper tree on the island, right? Aye, that's all I found, though they grow common enough in Hispaniola. I was sure of myself now. Gentleman Jack had just come from Hispaniola when the Bloody Hand pulled in here to bury the plunder, sir. Captain Scratch said that all that while he was marking the bearings on his sleeve, he was dipping his quill in a Hispaniola fruit, using the juice for ink, a disappearing ink, without knowing it, I fancy. The same as these juniper spots on my shirt. I paused for a breath. But when he was shot and buried over, the juniper must have been buried also. It could have sprouted. It's been 7 years, hasn't it? Jack-o'-lantern's face was aglow with the possibility. You think them treasure boxes are waiting in the roots of the juniper tree, do you? Yes, sir. What do you think John Ringrose said? Strike me ugly. And that's the end of chapter 15. Chapter 16 is called Of What Befell Us, One and All, and the Ghost Who Stayed Behind. And we'll tune in next time to hear the exciting end to our story.